the genesis of the data movement, which actually started in the 80s, was there's no more than 2 or 3 passes in the average possession before a shot. So people was like, the fuck are we starting at the back for?
Go along.
Yeah, let's send it into the channels. Let's get big John Fashanu down there, knock it down, whip one in, put it in the back post. So they've gone, there's your 3 passes. That's all we need. And sometimes it's misreading the data. Sometimes it's a simplification of the data. And I think you're probably getting a little bit more of that now, where people are going, we don't need 30 passes to score a goal. And actually, if we do try and have 30 passes in and around our own box, we're more likely to concede than we are to score.
Hello, welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe. That is Finn. That is Stephen Howson. This is Off the Bar. We've got loads to talk about. We're going to look a little bit at the Liverpool game, what we can learn from it looking forward, because we've got Brighton at the weekend, who, weirdly, we've got a worse record against than we do Liverpool. So that game could potentially be even harder than the one last week. Also, I want to look a bit at sort of the tactics of Ruben Amorim, how they're evolving, if they're evolving, and are they... This is where you're going to get mad at me today, I think. Is it potentially the tactic of the future?
What?
We'll get into that later on.
I've got a question for you.
Okay, go on.
Doesn't Hurzeler, Brighton manager, sound like a ride at a fairground?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Take a spin on the Hurzeler.
Yeah.
Also, doesn't he dress...
I threw up on a Hurzeler.
He dresses a little bit like Kim Jong-un. I don't know if anyone's noticed that. Also, make sure you check out the link in the description for the Paddock merch. We've got loads of new stuff on there, including this jumper. Loads of extra stuff in there as well. Check the link in the description for that. Let's start at the Liverpool game. Let's sort of go back and work our way forward. So I'll talk to you first, Finn, because we've not really spoken about this at all. Lots of good things.
You're waiting to get me mad, aren't you?
I'm waiting to get you mad, yeah. Lots of good things happen in this game.
Yeah.
Being clinical early, I think, is just, if you can have any tactic in the world, it's scoring with your first shot. That helps every single manager, and United did that. I think after that, the game ended up being in a state of, we're 1-0 up, come and stop us being 1-0 up, and it took them 74 minutes, I think, or 75 minutes from when we scored to do so. What did you learn from that game, and particularly that period where we're a goal up and we're trying to hold Liverpool off? Because they did have chances, didn't they?
Yeah, definitely. I think the main thing I learned is that Amorim is at least capable of being adaptable and making the right decisions based on the requirements of the game and the opposition that you're facing. I think the big, overarching narrative about Amorim has been, well, he won't adapt, he's too rigid, it's his way or the highway, and you'll never see any changes from him. But I think the choice to not play Sesko, which was controversial before the game, putting Cunha up top, a more fluid front three, it obviously worked. We played for second balls. We weren't even bothered about trying to reach a target man, but we still played direct. Won a lot of second balls, which we've done brilliantly throughout this season. It's been one of the biggest improvements. And the game plan clearly worked. Obviously, there are areas of the game where, Liverpool, had they been more clinical, could have come back into it, and it could have been a very different outcome. But I think United showed a bit of know-how, especially late in the game with the antics from Cunha and a couple of others that I don't think we would have seen last season, given some of the personnel. So yeah, I think the big thing is that it was enthusing to me about what Amorim can do, changing his game plan.
I think with the XG as well, Steve, I think they're 2.75, depending on, I think different people have different metrics for XG, don't they? So anywhere between 2.75 and 3, and ours was around 1.5. Now, almost all of that, though, was accrued while Liverpool were losing. So basically what happens is, they have the ball, it ends in a shot across a clearance, or we win the ball back. If they didn't score, we repeat, and if they do score, then we kind of need to respond. I feel like them missing chances allowed the next chance to happen more easily, because we sat back and went, well, you didn't score then, try again. Once they scored, we got a goal back within 6 minutes.
Wasn't there something in the City game, like we accrued an XG of like nothing until it was 3-0 City, and then we got 2?
Something like that, yeah.
Game state matters.
Yeah.
That's probably the only flaw that XG has, which is why those little graphs where it shows you, where they're building up towards over the 90 minutes, those little XY maps, they're quite useful for that, because they show you at what points XG gets accrued, as well as not just show that final ending number. People lose their mind about XG, but it's the most accurate measurement. It's literally every goal that's ever been scored in the last 10 years placed on a map with whether it went in or whether it didn't go in. It's data.
Yeah.
It's not an opinion. So you can go, well, the game state change? Yeah, it does, but it averages out, and that's why it's a really good metric. If people shot every single time from the halfway line, you'd expect 1 in 100 to go in, maybe less, right?
Yeah.
And that's why it gets the score that it gets. If people are shooting from 6 inches out from the centre of the goal, how many are going in? Probably a couple, right? And it'll be accounted for in the XG, and that's all it is. It's a very simple metric of the location of where your shot came from, and it works.
I think they made a mistake in what they named it. I think calling it expected goals puts in an element of like...
You call it probable goals?
I think chance quality or something like that, because that's just like, we're not... Because expected goals implies this element of prediction to it, where it's like...
It's a reflection.
Yeah, whereas what it should be is looking backwards. So yeah, probable goals or chance quality. Because I think if you said yes United... Because before, for 50 years, or however long, certainly my whole life, you would look at the end of the game, possession, shots on target. They were the big ones that you would see always. And no one was ever like, well, it doesn't matter the shots on target or the shots because where were they taken from? But that shots is an even less accurate representation of how good a chance you created than XG is. But I think calling it expected is almost giving it this like, oh, it predicts the future, when realistically it should just be the chance quality that you make.
But you can have expected for something in the past.
Yeah, you can, but I think in terms of PR, I think people hear that and think, it's trying to tell me what more than we know more about football than you do. This chance is, you think that was a good chance? It was only 0.2 XG. I think people kind of are offended by it. But realistically,
a really good chance, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that is a pretty good chance, to be fair. That's the thing as well. People go, well, how can we score that when it was only 0.2? And I'm like, yeah, but 0.2 is pretty good. A 1 in 5.
I think some of the problem is like, you know, the XG account on Twitter that will post the XG of like every game.
Yeah.
The really famous one. I think things like that where you just throw out the numbers with no context. Like you said, the kind of rolling graphs are really important to contextualize where that XG comes and the game state that arrives in. If you just use the black and white XG numbers, then I think you lack a bit of nuance. So I think the way it's framed is important.
I think that account just posts it on, I think they've got like an Opta data scrape where it just goes, that game, bosh. So that's what they do.
It's probably fully automated, isn't it?
I don't think the guy's literally sitting there with his notepad and pen.
Yeah, totting it up.
Is that 0.3 or...
It sort of has to be, doesn't it? Because I wonder, does it factor in like where the defenders are and stuff, or is it just where you shot from and that's it?
So different models do, and different models also look at the cross and whether it was a header or a foot.
Okay, yeah, that makes obviously a massive difference. Sometimes I think headers end up being more... Well, like, obviously, if it's a header, that's better than it being a hip height, for instance, in terms of...
Not on the halfway line, though.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know how many of them have been scored. I'm going to say none.
I think I've seen a video, it was an old one that I used to see in like an old GIF in like 2000, when I was at school, of someone scoring a header from the halfway line. I think I've seen that.
Like a proper... centre half clearance.
Yeah.
He's gone, gadoosh.
I think it was one of them.
Absolute slabhead 101.
Yeah, but they're obviously very, very rare. Obviously, Liverpool as well, going through a rough patch. They scored 5 against Frankfurt yesterday, so they're not going through that rough a patch, and they're still capable of scoring goals. Does that diminish it for you at all, Steve? Does that, people saying, oh, you know, it was the 4th loss in a row, therefore it's not the same as if you'd have beaten them on a 10-game winning streak. Do you care?
Not a single bit.
No. Do you think that it was more difficult to beat them, or do you think it was easier to beat them though?
Joe, what was we saying this time last week? This is not a good time to play them. They're clearly going to be better this week.
Yeah.
Just because they weren't, I mean, arguably they were. They beat us on XG, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You know, they created enough chances to win, but they didn't. And I've seen so many people go, you got lucky in this game. You can't say you got lucky when we literally played for the thing that worked.
Yeah. Does that give you some hope? Not hope, but sort of optimism about Amorim? About like, he in a big game, he's done something that is a little bit different. No attackers or no strikers. Playing for second balls, almost like not even really going up for some of the headers.
We didn't. I'm literally watching the build-up to our first goal going, this is fucking dumb.
Yeah.
Why are we sending it to... Because obviously I wasn't aware at the time. The tactic was literally to play for the second ball. But I'm going... Why are we going long to Mbeumo against Van Dijk? He's not going to win a single... Go on.
It was mad when you watched it thinking, we must be doing this on purpose. Do you like stuff like a little sort of, the manager's kind of snuck one in?
If you get the result at Anfield, first win against
I like the attempt.
Yeah.
Because I've not seen an attempt. You know, we saw a little bit in the Sunderland game of some different shapes off the ball and stuff like that. Maybe this is just how long it's taken for it to start a bed in. Maybe it is. But, you know, I did a video the other week where I was like, I've lost faith. Because all I'm seeing is him trying to do the same thing week in, week out. And all I wanted was to see something different. Sunderland, we saw something different. Liverpool, we saw something different. like, even if we maybe hadn't got the win against Liverpool, I think the fact that we saw something different and something he attempted worked, we'd have all took that draw. I know we would have took the draw.
Yeah.
The circumstances of it being a late equaliser for Liverpool, maybe not so much, but we would have all absolutely taken the draw in the cold light of day. We have to follow it up by beating Brighton, though. And I know that sounds greedy when you've gone from we're not 1-2 back-to-back to now we want 3 or it's a bad do, but we've still gone from heads, tails, tails, heads, haven't we?
Yeah.
It's like you can't just lose the next one after that. There's got to be a level of consistency come from this now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's always, we always say, oh, the next game is must win, but I think the impact that it would have on the momentum that we're taking into the season, suddenly you reshape the kind of perspective of the whole start of the season. 5 games in, it was another write-off. Most people were Amorim out. I think suddenly if you win this game, you're going to be a couple of points off the league leaders. You're going to be
overtake Chelsea or Liverpool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can be right amongst the top 4, and we've already got some of our hardest games out of the way. Suddenly, I think the narrative changes a lot.
What's that stat called again?
Which one?
We've had some of our hardest games that way, would you say?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, domestic weighted
domestic
weighted tilt, as we've named it.
Domestic
We've come up with our own stat.
Okay.
We've come up with our own stat. Then
Coined it
ESPN
on there.
FC literally did. Did you see it? You got tagged in it yesterday. Did you see?
No, I didn't see this.
So ESPN did a pro United tweet yesterday. I had to check that I wasn't dreaming. But they've literally done some maths where they've worked out that United have had the hardest start to the Premier League this season.
I did see that.
And it's literally, us about a month ago, came up with our own name for a stat. We called it domestic weighted tilt. What's the PIFFFB one? I can't remember what that one is.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
I know what the acronym is. I can't remember what we called it.
We got a little bit silly with it. But basically... Oh yeah, post-international break something, wasn't it? Yeah, fixture bounce back or something. But it does, I mean, that does make a difference. We've already played Arsenal, City, Chelsea and Liverpool in our first 8 games, which is tough.
If you had said at the start of the season, how many games in are we? 8?
8.
If you had said 8 games into the season we'll be, 2 points off top 4?
Yeah.
Having already played these games, I think most United fans would have absolutely taken that.
And also, if we do beat Brighton, we're drifting towards that 2 points per game region, which is, what's that, 75 points, 76 points at the end of the year.
That's where you need to be.
That's right where you need to be.
What's fucked us up is that we've thrown some in our own net.
Yeah.
And the Grimsby game.
The Grimsby is bad.
is a stain. It's a big stain.
Do you know what? If Cunha had just scored that penalty, because yes, it would have still been terrible, would have had to have an inquiry, it would have been awful, Amorim still would have been fuming. But Cunha had a penalty to win that game. Yeah. And you can at least just go, Jesus Christ, what was that? This is horrendous. But by now, we'd be going, well, we've already beaten Sheffield Wednesday since. We've got Brentford coming up. You wouldn't even be thinking about it anymore. Yeah. Instead, it's like you said, it's dragging. It's such a heavy weight on the rest of the season.
In terms of Cunha, what do you make of him? Because I've seen some people saying he is the best signing we've made in the last 10 years. He's United's best player. He's Eric Cantona. Some people saying...
Calm the fuck down.
Yeah, some people saying, he's shit, he's not scored any goals. Where do you stand on that?
I think he's a very good player.
Yeah.
And I think in certain games he's going to be the wizard that you need. Like that Liverpool game. His performance was so much better than his stats. His numbers, who cares about his numbers? I don't even want to look, I'm not bothered. Especially as the game went on. The last 15 minutes, especially when you've got another goal to make it 2-1, they're trying to just get anything for a draw in the last few seconds. Those minutes count for more than the first 10 minutes. Yeah. They're just big. And when your performance gets more impressive, increasingly important as the game goes on, that's a quality that isn't going to come down to a number that's going to look impressive. But it helped win us the game so much.
Yeah, decision making, yeah, on and off the ball, on and off, sort of in and out of the game as well, where you go down, right, I've got cramp now. Mm-hmm. That's not a start. The game isn't even happening, but that helped us win the game. Yeah. All those little things, like we were speaking the other day about it, and like that one on the sort of our left-hand touchline, where he's got a man on his back and he's got someone coming the other way. He sort of falls over, kind of plays the ball while he's on the ground, stands back up and lays it back into Dallo or whoever was playing left back at the time. And he didn't go past anyone, so it's not a dribble. He didn't obviously have a shot. He didn't tackle anyone.
There's no shot. There's no stat that represents.
There's barely
the
a stat
value
that
of what
represents
he's just
how
done.
good what we've just seen was. So for me, I think he will start scoring. But I just
talk to me about that flick against Arsenal. That alone was half of his fucking fee paid.
Yeah.
Like, we got to remember, this is entertainment. It's sport. It ain't real life. It's what we do as a pastime and technically our jobs. But realistically, it exists to be fun.
Yeah.
Players like Cunha make it fun. I don't want boring fucking footballers. I want them to be a little bit wild. I want them to do shit that I don't see coming. I don't want you to always receive it with the back foot, take a touch, get your head up, make a perfectly weighted pass to someone else's back foot. To win football matches, you have to do something risky. You have to do something that's going to get the crowd on its feet. And that's what we love. And players like that, I thought Barada was off his fucking meds when he compared him to Eric Cantona. But there's going to be a 7 or 8 year old boy or girl in Manchester that goes and watches that game and sees that shit that he did against Arsenal, that sees some of the stuff that he's doing. He's going to, touch the ball 3 times, put 2 defenders on their arse and then send the ball 50 yards for someone. And they're going to go, wow, you can do that. Because that's what Eric Cantona did to me and to tens of thousands of other Reds when we were, still in primary school. And we first saw, we've been watching Mark Hughes and Brian McClare, really good footballers, but they're not Eric Cantona. And you might have your Mason Mounts, he's a dead hard worker and he's technically bang on. He will not do the shit that Cunha does. And that's why we go to the game. We go to be entertained and we go to be wowed, and he brings that. And do I give a fuck that he's not scored? Nah, because anyone can score a goal. Not everyone can do some of the shit that he's been doing. And he will score goals. There's no doubt in my mind whatsoever. He does not end the season on no goals, no assists. Not a prayer. I'd even put money on it right now, 8 games in. He will be in the top 3 for our goal of the season this year because he doesn't score bad goals. It's bangers only. That's all he does.
He loves a banger, doesn't he?
That's all he does.
Yeah, he does.
That's the thing. I think if we can source our goals from elsewhere, I don't care what his output is at the end of the season. It might end up being amongst United's best. But
it might be 4.
Yeah, but it's like you said, it's the entertainment that really matters. As long as we're winning games and we're sourcing our goals and distributing them throughout the squad.
Even if you're not, ask fucking Bolton fans what they think about JJ Okocha.
Yeah, and also I think he will help us win games. Just to add that to it,
he's a fucking good
I do
footballer.
think he will score, and I do think he will help us win games. But that's not all he brings, and I think that you do need some players like that. Just looking ahead to
Brighton. Not our
Brighton.
best though, it's Mbeumo.
Do you think he's our best player total?
No, I think it's Mbeumo.
No, as in Mbeumo's our best player in the squad.
Yeah, I think he's just our hands down most effective match winner.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's our most effective match winner. I think Bruno's our best player still, but I think, effective, definitely Mbeumo. Looking at Brighton, I think in the first 17 league games we played against him, Brighton won 3, drew 2, lost 12. They've won 6 of the last 7 league games against us. That's crazy, isn't it? And in the middle of that, just for full transparency, we did beat him in the FA Cup once, but it was a 0-0 that we were awful in. But we won it on penalties, so we did win it. But in the Premier League, going back to 21-22, 4-0 Brighton, 2-1 Brighton, 1-0 Brighton, 3-1 Brighton. Then we beat them 2-0 in the last week of the season. Do you remember Ten Hag's first season? Then 2-1 and a 3-1 loss last season. It's been, I think, probably as bad as anyone. I can't think of anyone else we've lost 6 of the last 7 against. Why do we struggle so much against Brighton, do you think, Steve?
Because they're a very good side with a very lowly reputation. And I think maybe some of our players don't give them the respect that they deserve. Because they are technically great and they're hard to beat, they're well drilled, and they've had a succession of really difficult managers that that can get a tune out of teams. And then they're a well-run football club. That look at that team on paper. That shouldn't be a team that we fear. They've got fucking Danny Welbeck up front, mate. He's 34. Yeah, that should be a washed striker now. He scored 4 on it this year.
I think so.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I think they seem to have something particularly that we can't deal with, don't they?
Yeah, I think we probably do underestimate them. I think also the fact that they have so much turnover in their squad in terms of new players every season. Obviously, they're a selling club at their heart. There are always new players in and out. And I think United, we struggle to kind of anticipate that and adapt, and they're always going to be well drilled and they're always going to be a good side. And I just think usually when we've come to play them, the approach mentally specifically just seems wrong. We just don't turn up. I'm really hopeful, and I'm quite optimistic that it's going to be different this weekend.
We're beating them, Joe. We're beating them.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so. We always seem to. My thing with every time we play Brighton, my memory of Brighton always is us trying to play out from the back and just getting swarmed and not.
That's
just
why we're beating them, because we don't do
We're
that
not gonna
no more.
try it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So
Lemon's had one short pass, hasn't he, in 2 games?
yeah, something
He's like, cool, down there, lads.
Do we think that we're going to keip doing that then? Not just necessarily against these, but
I think he's now got a card to play.
okay.
And I genuinely, I think Brighton will set up to not press us because of that. Because you would. If you're Hursley this week, you go, they're just going to smash it forward.
Yeah.
But I actually think we'll have Sesko and we'll compete for them this week.
Okay.
I think that is the difference.
Yeah.
And that's what you want from a football team. You want there to be several ways that you can play. So an opposition manager has to gamble on that you're going to do A, C, and F.
Yeah.
And then you do B, C, and D.
Yeah.
And you go, shit. Right, okay. And then he has to fix it on the fly. But meanwhile, those are the margins where you can get just enough of an edge to go 1-0 up.
We saw that exact thing happen against Sunderland, where we went longer. I think it was either 1 or at 2-0. They switched to a 5 at the back. They went, we've got to go man for man here because we're getting overwhelmed by this.
Because they set
ball.
up to press us.
Yeah. So I wonder, because at some point we're going to see teams kind of counteract our little adjustments, aren't we?
Yeah. And then we play out.
It's exciting, isn't it? Do you think we're going to keep seeing this long ball or see it as a sort of an option almost?
I think as long as it remains effective and as long as it helps us win games, especially given the personnel in the squad, I don't see it changing in the immediate term. But then again, you have to continue to be adaptable, continue to read what the opposition are doing, and if they are going to refuse to try and press you, if they are just going to sit deep and contest second and third balls and make it basically an aerial battle, then we need to be ready to have a plan B. And I think we've shown that we are a lot better at going long than we are from trying to play out from the back.
Yeah.
And so I think some of it still comes down to personnel. I don't think we're seeing Amorim's kind of pure intentions that he just wants us to play extremely direct football constantly. I think he wants there to be more solutions, but at the end of the day, if you have especially midfielders who can't really receive and help you play out from the back, because that's not really Casemiro and Bruno's game, I think primarily this season we're going to see us continue to play long.
I've got a bit of a theory. I think this is where you're going to get annoyed with me, Steve. I think not necessarily Ruben Amorim, but I think what we're seeing from managers like Amorim, whether that be because of a 5 at the back or because of, we're seeing more long balls, we're seeing more long throws, we're seeing more set pieces, like a lot of this sort of old school kind of approach.
Tony Pulis running down the ramp. Is that Tony Pulis' music?
Exactly, yeah, and it's Arteta, who might win the league by doing it. I think that this is the next phase of football, and I think that this has come from 20 years ago, people would have different systems. People would sit back more. It wouldn't be this out-and-out press. Then Pep came along, and it felt like for 10 years, from sort of 2012 to 2022, roughly, the whole world was going, what do we have to do to get as close to that as we can? That's peak football. That's the best you can have. So we have to rebuild things and try and make it look like that. And then you've got teams like Brighton, Brentford. You've got newly promoted teams like Leeds coming up and pressing and doing all this sort of modern football stuff. You get to a point where actually everyone in the league is doing, not to the same degree, Pep is the best manager out of everyone doing this, but everyone is kind of trying to do the same thing, where we've agreed that that's the best way to play football, and to a large degree we're all sort of trying to get there. I think you get to a certain point where when 18 of the Premier League teams are trying to play high pressing, quick football, athletic, high intensity football, then all of a sudden the next phase is, well, that isn't different or new anymore. The next phase is, how do we counteract that? And I wonder whether that is maybe more likely a 3 at the back or a 5 at the back, to allow for, you've got more people. All of a sudden you've got 6 or 5 men attacking, so you need 5 or 6 men defending. And then also these longer balls, these long throws, these set pieces, you can't press your way out of a corner. That is just a get people in the box, put it in a good area. If we win the header, it's a goal. I think going long over the top of a press, because eventually people become so good at pressing, how good do your defenders have to be at passing to play around them? I wonder whether we are starting to see the next era of what football tactics are, and it's a response to everyone just going, pressing's the best thing. Well, we need a way to come around and fix and get past pressing now. Is not just playing long ball, but do you think there is a chance that we are starting to see the end of how close can we get to Pep Guardiola?
I think we're seeing a shift in the kind of medium to top end bracket, but the best teams in the world are still going to play your high pressing, high possession football. So I think until we see Champions League winning sides playing this long direct football where you're not attempting to play it from the back and you're not pressing really high, then I don't think we'll see that become a viable kind of sustainable way to win football, to win leagues and to win, top end accolades.
Maybe, and before I get too sick, I think you got a little smirk on your face. Maybe it's not about like just going long every time. I don't necessarily mean that, but I think it's about having a different game plan for every opposition, rather than Pep does his thing and most, 95% of games, 99% of games, we're playing the same way. We do things this way because it's the best way. Maybe it's about individual scientific sort of equations for each game rather than just the best system and then we play it.
But to win a league, is there not far too much variance in that kind of approach that means you're not going to reliably get results?
The amount of data and stats and information available to teams and players now, maybe that's more doable than ever. I don't know. Steve, am I talking shit?
I'm trying to think how long we got left.
We've got enough time.
Short answer is yes, you're talking shit.
Okay.
But not for why you think you're talking shit.
I don't think I am.
Right, you've attributed far too much to Pep Guardiola here.
Okay.
Right, what you've done with Pep Guardiola is like calling Chinese food American cuisine.
Delicious.
It is delicious.
Yum.
Yeah.
And what Pep Guardiola created was delicious, but it wasn't his recipe.
Okay.
What he did was combine things that was good elsewhere, which is what Chinese food in America is. Okay?
Yeah.
See?
Kung Pao.
You did not see that
General
coming, did
Tso
you?
wasn't born in China, was he?
No, this analogy is fucking flawless,
born in
Joseph.
America.
Now,
Yeah, go on.
who are Pep Guardiola's managerial influences?
Cruyff.
Correct.
Little Cruyff piece.
And that's where the possession and the shapes comes from.
Ralph
Okay?
Rangnick, is he in there?
Nope. You're on the right track, though.
Bit of Bielsa or?
Correct. Bielsa. He went and spent a lot of
himself?
time with Bielsa before he started managing, and I believe that's where the high intensity and the pressing and that 7-second thing, which Barcelona did, probably popularise for most people.
Yes.
Now, what Barcelona created with the recipe and the mixture of the wonderfully talented midfielders that they had, and the blessing that they had with Messi, and then the referees, was an almost unbeatable system.
Yeah.
And for a period of time, it might have been the high point of no one else can fuck with it. But Pep has adapted that. He's adapted that load since he came to England, and he even became a lot more transitional by German football, the Ralph Rangnick sort of influence when he was at Bayern. He learnt a lot of things when he was at Bayern. And I think he's way more adaptable now, and you see way more differences in what Pep does now.
That's
and
true.
I think he's more influenced now by other things that's around him. I think he's a very good football brain, but I think a lot of things get attributed to him that he's copying from others. But because people are more in tune to him being this innovator, they're attributing things that he does. But actually, De Zerbi did it better than he did when he was here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of that going on with Pep. Now, I think that you're seeing this season's more direct play as a direct result of this. Do you remember the start of last season? It was fuck up central for goals.
Yeah, people playing out from the back constantly.
Getting caught and conceding.
Yeah.
That I think we started to look into the numbers on it, because it was like a 50% jump in like errors leading to a goal by defenders or something, something along those lines. I think a lot of the more direct style of football is probably a little bit of data. It takes a while to catch up. Fuck me, lads. We're losing the ball here constantly. Blah, 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 blah. And there's that many analysts and data people involved in football clubs now that people are looking for margins of where they can do stuff. And when someone does find something, like Arsenal last season were mad impressive on their set pieces, others are copying that.
Yeah.
And you're getting a little bit of that. And I think football's always been cyclical. Go all the way to 18 something or other, and the Walter Winterbottom days when it was smashing the ball long, and 80s football changed from the 70s. 70s was a lot more dribbling. The 80s people started going more direct because someone misread data, and it was like one of the genesis of the data movement, which actually started in the 80s, was there's no more than 2 or 3 passes in the average possession before a shot. So people was like, the fuck are we starting at the back for?
Go along.
Yeah, let's send it into the channels. Let's get big John Fashanu down there, knock it down, whip one in, put it in the back post. So they've gone, there's your 3 passes, that's all we need. And sometimes it's misreading the data, sometimes it's a simplification of the data, and I think you're probably getting a little bit more of that now, where people are going, We don't need 30 passes to score a goal. And actually, if we do try and have 30 passes in and around our own box, we're more likely to concede than we are to score. Someone's probably done the maths. So you're seeing teams going a little bit more direct. And, there's some brilliant sort of evolutions of football that happened from 80s into the early Prem, into the latter stage 90s Prem, into the early 2000s, the Jose Mourinho, Rafa Benitez. They added a third man into midfield when it was more of a 4-4-1-1 sort of a game. People started to try and overload that. The possession thing became very, very popular. The transitional thing became very, very popular. And now you're in a little bit of a very systematized kind of game where I think the next evolution probably is a bit more direct, probably is a little bit more Sam Allardyce, Tony Pulis. I mean, Sam Allardyce gets called this dinosaur of football, but actually all he was doing was reading the data. He followed the data. He was mad for the data. And I think you'll probably see a continued evolution where, look at what United are doing. We're trying to overload the back line with 5. We have I think he wants a right-sided, right-footed right wing-back and a left-sided, left-footed left wing-back. Obviously, it's Ahmad at the moment. I think ideally he would like that to be a right-footer. They're just wingers in a different guise. The game changes but stays the same.
I think I agree with a lot of that. I mean, obviously some of the history stuff I wasn't aware of in terms of the changes of things. I do think that when I'm talking about Pep, I mean more sort of the story around him rather than, because like you said, I do think especially under this new system with the end of sort of De Bruyne and with Rodri being out for so much of the last sort of 18 months, I think he has evolved and changed things a lot. But I think that the general accepted theory was high pressing football, winning the ball back high up, scoring quickly is more effective and better than what we'd seen for the 10 years before.
Only because it was different.
Well, there you go. And I think you get a saturation point, like I'm saying. You get teams coming up from the Championship who do it better than we do. And you think, well, at some point, if everyone's doing it, like you said, about losing the balls near your own goal, a lot of what pressing is, and I think people think of pressing as you push loads of players up, you tackle them, you get the ball, you square it, you score. A lot of what pressing is just forcing them into playing a low percentage pass. Mm-hmm. So a lot of it is like, you'll see press, long ball down the line, centre-back nods it into his midfielder and you're pushing that way. You can almost cut out the pressing by going long, forcing them into a low-risk pass, which is a Van Dijk header, because it's hard to perfectly nail that with accuracy and power.
Picking the ball up 15 yards off the edge of their box.
Yeah, so you end up getting the ball where you would have done if you'd pressed them instead, but by putting 6 fewer men forward.
Somewhere Neil Warnock's watching this podcast going, I told you!
I've been saying this for 50 years! Well, and obviously I don't think everyone's going to do it, and then there'll be a counterweight to that.
What is the counterweight?
Well, I think you'll...
Possession.
Yeah, exactly. Because you'll see teams who are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, athletic, and then when a generation happens where you do have an Iniesta, a Xavi and a Messi come along again, well then what a 6'3" guy is going to do against that? But I'm so happy, even though I know Carragher's sick of long throw-ins and they are a bit boring, but I'm so happy that not every team in the league is just trying to do what they think.
Do you know what's a perfect sort of illustration of this is if you look at the Championship.
Yeah.
When you're the best team with the best players, you can almost play any way you like because you've got the best players.
Yeah.
Burnley being this footballing sensation as they came up from the Championship under Vincent Kompany, and then the worst team you've ever seen in the Premier League because everyone's like, yeah, we can all do that, dickheads.
Yeah.
Can you keep up with us doing it? And that's when you see like the likes of Sunderland. Clock Sunderland weren't going to play that game.
No.
And they came up and went, we're going to do something totally different. Watch this.
Yeah. But yeah, Sunderland are doing things a little bit differently. You've seen a lot of teams coming up now and not trying to, like you said, play the most advanced way with a lesser team. And I wonder where it'll go. I wonder how much sort of evolution there is still left in it. But I like the feeling for once that we're not just trying to play catch up with what other teams are doing. Even if Amorim doesn't end up working and we never got the players for the system, I felt for so long we were sort of 2 or 3 years behind. And I feel like there's a potential that actually the way we're looking at things now is almost not necessarily ahead of the game because we've lost to Grimsby. How ahead of the game can you be? Yeah. But that we're looking at the next wave of football tactics rather than trying to catch up with the last one. That is very sort of, gives me a bit of optimism personally. Right, I think we're going to have to call it a day there.
Do you know what? Sam Allardyce somewhere is watching us on his shitter with a pint of wine and a bag of salt and vinegar, right? and he's gone, when I finish this dump, I'm going to go and dust off my CV.
He needs to get back out there. He's a good
He
manager.
did a good job, yeah.
He's a very good manager. He only lasted 30 days at Leeds, though, didn't he? Whatever it was. That was tough.
Yeah,
Feel
it's
a
the
bit bad for
environment,
him.
isn't it?
It's the environment, getting back out there. In the next few years, you're going to see all these come back. Kirbishley's back. Allardyce is back. Who else haven't we had for a while? Martin O'Neill's going to come back. Pulis. Warnock. Although Warnock's always back anyway. He comes back every season, doesn't he?
He's had more clubs than fucking Tiger Woods in.
Unbelievable. Thank you very much, Finn. Thanks for
you for
coming
having
on.
me.
We'll see you on the watch along as well.
Absolutely.
On Saturday, you're going to be here with us. Cheers, Steve. As always, nice to chat to you about all things Manchester United. Get your thoughts in the comments below. Am I just being ludicrous saying that we're the future of football after we've won 2 games in a row? It is.
You're not titling this video, that are you?
It's optimism to
Keep my
a
face off
delusional
that
level.
thumbnail, thank you.
No, so your face is going to be the biggest one, and it's going to say
Straight in
Steve
the
says
middle.
we're the best. Make sure again you check out the merch. The link is in the description. Loads of new stuff in there, so go and check that out. Thanks once again. See you in a bit.